Hello, children. It is Mr. Bruce again. Today our book is from the Mr. Putter and Tabby series. This one is called Mr. Putter and his cat Tabby Pick the Pears. But first, glasses on. Ah, there you are. Eyes watching, ears listening, voices quiet, body calm. Mr. Putter and Tabby Pick the Pears. Chapter 1, Pear Jelly. It was fall, and juicy things were growing in Mr. Putter's backyard. Juicy apples, juicy tomatoes, juicy pears. Mr. Putter walked with his fine cat Tabby. Among the juicy things that he dreamed of apple pies and apple turnovers. He dreamed of hot apple cider with cinnamon stick and stuffed red tomatoes. But most of all, he dreamed of pear jelly. Mr. Putter loved pear jelly, and he loved it since he was a boy. Fall was his favorite season because just of pear jelly. And now it was time. Tabby, he said, it's time to pick the pears. Tabby loved it when Mr. Putter said it was time to do something. She was old, but she still liked excitement, and she followed Mr. Putter into the garage, where he found the ladder for pear picking. Then he went to the backyard, where all the excitement was. Chapter 2, Cranky Legs. Mr. Putter had a problem. It was a ladder problem. Mr. Putter set his ladder against the pear tree, but he couldn't get up the ladder. Last year he had gotten up the ladder, but this year he had cranky legs. Cranky legs, cranky knees, cranky feet. Maybe that's why Mr. Bruce has so much trouble getting up. He stepped onto the ladder, and his legs were so cranky that he had to get right off again. One trouble with being old, said Mr. Putter, is being cranky. Tabby knew exactly what he meant. She had a cranky tail. Some days it was so cranky it wouldn't swish, it just stuck in the air like a stick. Cranky legs and cranky tails, they're no fun when you're old, especially if you want pear jelly. Mr. Putter looked up at the pears still in his tree, and he thought. Tabby curled herself up and waited. She liked excitement, but she could wait for it. Chapter number 3, Zing. What I need, said Mr. Putter at last, is a good slingshot. Mr. Putter knew about slingshots. He had played with them as a boy. They were good for knocking cans off logs. So they must be good for knocking pears off of trees. Tabby followed him into the house to make their own slingshot. Mr. Putter found an old pair of underwear he didn't like. He didn't like it because it was pink and covered with poodles. His brother had given him that underwear for his birthday. His brother loved underwear. He thought it was funny. Mr. Putter, he did not. So he cut up the underwear and got some very good elastic. Then he got an old glove and he got a stick, and he made, voila, his own slingshot. Mr. Putter and Tabby went back to the pear tree, and Mr. Putter needed something hard and round to throw out of it. So he picked apples that had already fallen, and he picked up an apple. He put the apple in the slingshot. He aimed the pear in the tree, and he pulled it back as hard as he could, aiming at the pear. Zing! That was the sound the hard round apple went flying up, 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 up. Over Mr. Putter's pear tree, over Mr. Putter's apple tree, over Mr. Putter's chimney, over Mr. Putter's house. Mr. Putter and Tabby watched as it flew out of sight. Said Mr. Putter, and he picked up another apple. Zing! Up, 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 over and over, out of sight. Wow, he was smiling now. He forgot how much fun it was. He might have cranky legs, but he sure had jiffy hands, and he picked up yet another apple. Zing! Another apple. Zing! Another apple. He forgot all about the pears. Tabby liked the first zings. By the 7th zing, she began to yawn. By the 10th zing, she began to nod, and by the 14th zing, she was asleep. Mr. Putter played with his slingshot all afternoon. He played through tea time, through supper time, until it was dark and couldn't see anymore. When he was finished, he had no apples, he had no pear jelly, and he was a little embarrassed. He picked up Tabby and walked inside his house. No apples, no pears, no pie. Chapter 4, the last chapter, is called Juicy Days. The next afternoon, Mr. Putter and Tabby were sitting on their porch. They were feeling sorry for themselves because they still had no pear jelly. Suddenly, Mr. Putter's neighbor, Mrs. Teaberry, and her dog Zeke came by. Mrs. Teaberry was carrying a big basket, a very big basket. She said to Mr. Putter, "It is so amazing, Mr. Putter. When I woke up this morning, there were dozens and dozens of apples on my front yard, and I don't even have an apple tree." Mr. Putter looked at Tabby. Amazing, he said. I wonder where they came from. She said, "I made an apple feast," said Mrs. Teaberry. In the basket, she had 14 apple turnovers. She had 5 apple pies, 6 jellies, a gallon of hot apple cider, and cinnamon sticks. Oh! Mr. Putter and Tabby ate juicy things for days and days. When he was finishing the last apple pie, Mr. Putter had an idea about those pears in his yard. He wasn't going to bother climbing the ladder again. He'll just wait for fall, and they would fall off themselves. Then he would get out his slingshot and start slinging over at Mrs. Teaberry's house again and wait for the pies. The end. There's Tabby in the leaves. Well, my favorite kind of pie is peach pie. Some people like apple, some like pear, some like cherry, some like chocolate cream pie, some like coconut custard pie, some like lemon meringue pie. What's your favorite pie? Some people don't even like pie. They like cake instead. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, though, be good to your folks and wash your hands. Bye-bye.